back to another video. Today is the part 2 of our techniques I'll be using in my watercolor flower paintings. Yeah. So today is all about watercolor consistency. And I'm gonna teach you how to paint something looking a bit flat to go from something with a lot more definitions and dimensions. Yeah. And I call that technique about the water to paint ratio, whether it's a tea or milk or honey consistency. And I'm not talking about how to make the best cup of tea here. I'm talking about watercolor paintings. So you wanna find out more? I'll see you in the studio. So now we're gonna talk about our paint. So what do I mean by honey? Is this, if you get like here I'm using blue, just get it almost straight from the paint, just a bit of water. And this will put down as my first square. Oh, look at that. I think that's probably called Windsor blue. What a gorgeous blue. So yeah, I think I'll probably call this straight from the pan, probably a little bit, not that much water. So I'll call this one honey. So I would say probably the watercolor paint is about 80% and water is about 20%. And now I'm gonna wash off the pen a bit. I'll probably come back with something I call milk. So milk is probably, for the paint, I would say about 50%, and water is about 50%. And now I'm gonna wash off even more. And here comes with our tea. So I'll call this one tea consistency. I'll say paint probably 20% and water probably 80%. Yeah. And then I'm gonna introduce one last one I use, which I actually think is really important and most people probably not aware of, is this one. I call it, yeah, I actually get just a tiny bit of blue, but I want you to know I call this one water. Pretty much just water. Yeah. And I will say this paint is 0%. Here you can see a little bit blue because I think that's easier for you to see on the screen. But the idea, you know, is water. And yeah, very soon I'm gonna show you, I find water is such a useful color in watercolor. It just helps you to move all the paint, different consistency. So yeah, like here, of course it's just a spectrum, yeah? Because for instance, even honey, you know, that kind of honey, that hardly move honey or just move a little bit honey. So it's just a really thick consistency. And milk is like 50% of paint, 50% of water. So that's kind of in the middle. And tea, yeah, you know, like some people like their tea a bit stronger, some just like mild, so it doesn't matter. So I would say sometimes we'll paint, you know, with a color consistency between milk and tea. Sometimes I do it a bit between milk and honey. Sometimes I do it like really thick honey, like hardly move honey. Sometimes I just use water. And then having this concept, the paint and water ratio, it will really help you to do the dimensions and highlights in your watercolor painting. So I really like to highlight this one, and I have to be honest with you, before I understood this concept, my painting was definitely flat. But now, you know, I kind of know that, oh, so that is a trick about how to kind of add highlights to your painting. And let me show you how. So here, if I just come back with a bit of honey, and then I'm gonna wash off my brush, and I wanna come back with just water. And I'm gonna use water to touch. You see? That's it. That's how, and then you can always use the water to shape your painting, the shape you're trying to make a bit. So yeah, that's exactly what I mean about, like here, you already have like a two-tone color, and that's, you know, actually a really useful technique in watercolor painting. And now what I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna try just use water first. And this is what I do with just water. And I'm just come back with a bit, yeah, this is my mixing area. So I'm gonna use the same color. And yeah, I'm probably just gonna do a bit of, make it like water. No, maybe thicker. Let's do milk, yeah? And then this moment, make sure, you know, your brush is not too wet. Because if it's too wet, it's just gonna swim, you know, kind of on top of your previous water. And now you can just come back, you see? And then gently give it a bit of color and do a bit of outline. And that's how you kind of give a bit of color to this previous leaf. And the key here, like I mentioned earlier, make sure this brush is not too watery. If not, it will be a bit of big blob. So now I just use milk. And then now what I'm gonna do is, I'm just gonna come back with a bit of honey. And again, the same case, make sure your brush is not too wet. And if you need to, just dab a bit of extra water on your paper towel, and I'm not come back with a bit of honey. You see, let's give it a bit more, even more highlight. So now you already have like a three-tone color, and see however you like to do it. And then now, guess what? You can even come back with some more water. So now I'm just gonna wash off my brush and dab it, make sure it's dry, because if it's too wet, you know, you are not gonna do this technique. But if it's just a bit damp, you can even move your honey a bit. If you wanna blend in the color a bit more, that's how you can do it, like that. And then now I'm just gonna try another. If I want to, say again, I'm gonna pick up the same color and I'm gonna do milk consistency. So I'm here doing a bit of milk, and now I'm gonna try and do another color, also do a milk consistency. You see, that's how much I enjoy just blend a color on the paper. And again, oh, I dropped the brush. Let's pick it up. Again, you can just come back with water, blend it a bit if you help it to blend, if you kind of feel it's not too even. And guess what? I can always come back with a bit of honey and then give it a bit of highlight. Yeah, here my brush is a bit too wet, so I forgot to dry my brush enough. So now I'm just gonna come back with a bit of water and try to move it around too much, so it's not, just sitting in the bottom. Yeah, so there you have it. So, different ways how you can use a blend. So this is honey plus water. This one we use water first, and then we add a bit of milk, and then we add a bit of honey. Here we do a mix, it's milk plus milk with another color, and then in the end we add a bit of honey for the highlight. And the key is make sure every time you are adding another color on top of your previous one. Make sure there's not too much water on your brush, or it's just gonna kind of, you know, become a big blob, and the paint's gonna stay there. So yeah, there you have it. And then yeah, I find this terminology, you know, it's quite cool. How would you like to make your perfect cup of tea or watercolor painting? Start off with your water and see how you like to make your tea. You want to add some milk or honey. It's really up to your personal preference. But then by learning a technique, you can then really start to blend your colors on top of whatever you want to paint, and then give it a really good depth and dimension. So again, thank you very much for your time with me today. And I'll see you in our last part, which is part 3. See you next week. Bye.